Now, within the last half hour, the United Nations Security Council has voted and approved a resolution to help reunify Mali. The resolution authorised an African-led military intervention to help recapture the north of the country from rebel fighters. Separatist Tuareg rebels seized northern Mali after a coup back in March, but they have since lost the area to al-Qaeda-linked groups. The resolution also calls for political reconciliation and elections. Well, Geraud Araud is the French ambassador to the United Nations, and he joins us live now from the UN in New York. Good to have you with us, Ambassador. As we know, France drafted this particular resolution, but it seems that the US has got its way on this resolution because it wanted a two-phase mission, if you like, to Mali, to have more training for both Mali troops and African troops. That wasn't what the French wanted, was it? You actually wanted a more immediate intervention militarily.
No, actually, there was a debate between the US and France, and it was a legitimate debate because both of us, we have the same objectives. The Americans wanted to be sure that when there is a military offensive, if there is a military offensive, everything will be right. But I guess there was a total agreement on the objective. What we are going to follow is a two-track policy. The priority is not the military track. The priority is the political track. The reconciliation between the authority in Bamako with the armed groups in the north, which dissociate themselves from terrorism. So it will take several months. And during this period, we are going to reconstitute the Malian army with the support of the African force. And at some moment, when the political process, is ripe, if I may say, the Malian army will go north to go back to its barracks. And maybe at some moment, the Malian army will have to fight the terrorists, which means Al-Qaeda.
So how soon might that military action take place, given that the training is going to have to come in first?
Oh, it will take several months. The training will take several months. And maybe afterwards, I'm not a military, but I'm told that it's very difficult to fight in the summer in this part of the world. So I think we have ahead of us, I guess, between 6 months and 1 year to train the Malian forces, to create this African force, which is good because it's giving us a space for negotiation. Because I want to insist, our goal is to have a political process because between the people in the north and Bamako.
What about the humanitarian situation? I know that humanitarian agencies ahead of this vote were very worried. They were pointing out that something like 700,000 people could be displaced from the north once military action takes place. Are there any plans in place to help the ordinary people in northern Mali?
No, we are extremely worried that the military operation could lead to violations of the human rights or to lead to a worsening of the humanitarian situation. We are aware of the risk. Well, first I want to emphasize that the situation of the civilian population in the north right now is awful. The terrorist groups and the radicals are stoning, cutting hands, so the human rights situation is terrible. The humanitarian organizations have problems for access, so the situation is bad. But we would want, of course, we don't want that the military operation could lead to more problems. So if you look at the resolution, we have clearly stated that the UN will have a specific responsibility, first to monitor the human rights situation, to monitor the behavior of the Malian forces and the African forces to be sure that they respect the human rights, but also the UN will have to take all the measures for avoiding the humanitarian problems you were referring to.
Ambassador, as I understood it as well, the resolution called for the international community to provide troops and assistance that might be necessary for the Malian army. It's quite vague, that. What sort of assistance are we talking about? For example, could we see French troops going into Mali?
No, the President of the French Republic has been very clear. There won't be any French boots on the ground. What we need, the Malian army collapsed, I think, 1 year ago. basically because there was a political problems in Bamako. So we have first, in a sense, to reconstitute the Malian army, which means equipping the Malian army, but also training the Malian forces. We have the same problem with the African force because they have to get used to fight in a very difficult environment. So it will be really rebuilding the army. It will be training it. So it's and we are not going to rebuild all the Malian army. We are going to try to have a contingent which will be enough to reoccupy the north of the country. So again, as I was saying, it will take some time.
And just a final thought, because we are running out of time, Ambassador, but of course the Malian army itself was responsible for a coup in the capital. That makes it all very complex, doesn't it? That you're talking about helping and training a Malian army that was responsible for a coup in the country.
No, the situation is really complicated. The problem is that we can't simply accept to have a terrorist hub in the northern part of Mali. We have to speak French, to work with what we have. But we have a legitimate government, a president, we have a prime minister that have been recognized by the international community. We are working with these people. And our ultimate goal is to have, as soon as possible, when it's technically possible, to have general elections in Mali to restore a full constitutional order.
Ambassador Araud joining us from the UN. Thanks so much for your time, Ambassador.
Thank you.